It is good to be together, especially tonight. There's a particular sound in the world, to the world, when we hear it from inside a sukkah. It is not the silence of a sealed room, but the mingling of inside and outside. The flimsy walls invite the world, the rustle of the wind through the schrach, the neighbor's laughter, even the distant hum of traffic. All of it becomes part of the space. We are exposed, and in that exposure, we are drawn into a sharper kind of listening. But tonight, the sound of the world that filters through these temporary walls carries a different weight, a heavier resonance. For tonight, Erev Sukkot marks exactly 2 years since the 7th of October atrocities unfolded. Our calendar, in its relentless cycle, has brought the season of our greatest joy, Zman simchateinu, into direct and painful collision with the anniversary of our deepest modern trauma. And we cannot pretend otherwise. We cannot seal ourselves off from that echo. In fact, the Sukkah, in its profound wisdom, will not let us. Its flimsy walls have always been a lesson in vulnerability, a chosen vulnerability. We leave the security of our solid homes to remember our ancestors' wandering, to feel the fragility of existence, and to place our trust in something beyond bricks and mortar. This year, that lesson is almost unbearable poignant. The Sukkah's thin walls feel less like a spiritual metaphor, or more and more like a stark reminder of the safe rooms in Kfar Aza and Be'eri, whose walls were not strong enough. The vulnerability we embrace for this festival week is a pale reflection of the horrific, imposed vulnerability of that day. We choose to be exposed to the night air. They were exposed to the brutal, shattering hatred. This year, to sit in the Sukkah is to sit with that memory. It is an act of solidarity. It is to declare that we will not hide from the fragility of life because we cannot. On Friday evening, I spoke how Moses, at the end of his life, did not issue laws. He sang a great song of witness, a song that calls on heaven and earth to pay attention. What are we being called to listen tonight as we sit in our Sukkah? We are called to listen to that echoes of 2 years ago, to the stories that must continue to be told, to the silence from the tunnels in Gaza, where 48 hostages are still held captive. We are called to listen for the name of Segev Kalfon, and to hold his family and the families of all the hostages in our hearts. Our listening tonight is a prayer, a desperate, hopeful prayer that this week finally might bring a change and that they will be brought home. One of the most tender passages in Moses' song likens God as an eagle hovering over its young, lifting them onto outstretched wings. For 2 years, we have cried out, asking, where are those wings now? Yet, the image is not only of protection. An eagle stirs up its nest. It makes things uncomfortable to teach its young to fly. Our nest has been stirred beyond imagination. Our sense of safety has been shaken to its core. Tonight, that verse is not a statement of fact, but a deep and yearning prayer. We pray for that hovering protection for all who remain in danger. We pray for light to return to the region that has been overshadowed by such dark clouds. And we think of all the victims of this terrible conflict on all sides, because every human life is precious. And the fragility is not only over there. The hatred has wings of its own. We are still in shock, still reeling from the attack on the synagogue in Manchester on Yom Kippur, which ended the lives of Adrian and Melvin. An act of vicious antisemitism on the holiest day of our year, here in our country. It is a terrifying reminder that the fight against hatred is not someone else's battle. It is ours. It must be our imperative for 5786. This is not just a Jewish fight. It is a fight for everyone in our society who believes in decency, a fight against the hatred and division that cripples our country. How then can we sit here tonight and speak of joy? How can our tradition command us at this very moment to celebrate Zman simchateinu, the season of our joy? It can feel impossible, almost a betrayal. But perhaps it is the most important spiritual task we have. The joy of Sukkot is not a simple, naive happiness. It is not a joy that ignores reality. It is a joy of defiance, a joy of resilience. It is the profound Jewish statement that even in the face of darkness, we choose life. We build, we gather, we invite guests into our fragile homes. We sing, we celebrate, not because we have forgotten, but because we remember. We rejoice to honor those who no longer can. Our joy becomes an act of sacred memory, a declaration that the Spirit cannot be extinguished. The vulnerability of fasting on Yom Kippur gives way to the vulnerability of thin walls and open roofs. The seriousness of confession flows into the laughter of eating with friends under the stars. This year, that rhythm feels more essential than ever. It is the rhythm of Jewish survival. The Sukkah places us quite literally between heaven and earth. The ground beneath our feet, the sky above our heads, and we in the fragile middle. Tonight, that fragile middle is filled with so much: the memory of unspeakable loss, the ongoing pain of captivity, the fresh grief from our own community, and the ancient, stubborn commandment to rejoice. The joy we are asked to find is not a distraction from the world, but a joy rooted in attentiveness to it. In all its fragility, brokenness, and enduring blessing. It is the joy that comes from choosing hope when it is the hardest, from building when others destroy, from listening when the stories are painful, because in that listening we affirm our shared humanity. May this Sukkot give us strength to hold both the sorrow and the joy. May the shelter of our Sukkah be wide enough for our memories, our fears, and our most fervent hopes. And may our joy be genuine, not because the world is without trouble, but because we are commanded to fill it with light, and because, even in its imperfection, it is still drenched with blessing. Chag HaSukkot Sameach.